is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan. Here on the Morgan Man Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League, esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff snaps, wins the one-on-one in optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Goodbot HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Atlanta Falcons this Sunday, October 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Guys, the Atlanta Falcons are headed to Tampa Bay, Florida to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and guys, let me tell you, this is pretty much the do-or-die game for the Atlanta Falcons to succeed at winning the NFC South, I do believe. Because the Saints, I believe we got their number. The Panthers, obviously we got their number as well. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this is where things get interesting. This is pretty much the deciding factor of who's going to win the NFC South. If the Falcons could beat the Bucs this Sunday, we're 4-0. In the division. Okay. And then, of course, in 2 weeks, we got the Saints at New Orleans. But I have pretty much high hopes that the Atlanta Falcons are going to win that one. But if we can beat the Bucs, and I think we can, go 4-0 in the division, and then go in 2 weeks to New Orleans, we win the NFC South. Because we got a at that time, we will have a 5-0 record against our division rivals. So let's break down the stats right quick against the Tampa Bay game, and let's talk a little bit more about how the Falcons are going to be able to succeed this season. So as of right now, on October 22nd, this Tuesday at 6:08 p.m. Eastern, the time of this recording, the Atlanta Falcons were favored as a +1 favorite, but it quickly jumped up to a -2.5 point favorite, with the public bet going in favor of Atlanta at a 61% public bet. Moneyline, people are going Tampa Bay at a 77% with +118, and people are taking the over at 46 points scored in football game this Sunday at a 75% public bet. For your overall team stats, Falcons offense versus Tampa Bay's defense. So the Falcons overall offense is 7th in the National Football League, 31st against the offense overall for the Tampa Bay defense. Falcons passing offense is 5th, and the Falcons run game is 16th in the National Football League, while the Tampa Bay defense is 29th against the pass and 19th against the run. So the Falcons could definitely, again, have a field day in the passing game, and this is definitely huge for what I'm about to reveal here in just a few minutes. The Falcons defense versus the Bucs offense. The Falcons defense is the kind of a mid-tier defense, 17th overall in the National Football League, while the Bucs offense is 5th. 5th, ladies and gentlemen, in total offense. Passing for the Bucs offense, they are the 4th best team in the National Football League, while the Falcons defense is 9th against the pass. We got the lockdown corner, AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons, you name it, it's there. Now the Bucs is going to heavily rely on the run game this weekend as well, because they are the 8th best running offense, while the Falcons defense is 24th against the run. Now, as I said earlier, the Falcons do have a good break in front of them right here. Why? because the Tampa Bay's offense is going to be without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans this weekend. Right here, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Evans is, of course, going to be out week 8 against the Atlanta Falcons. Chris Godwin is going to be out week 8 for the Atlanta Falcons. So if we could get past this Bucs offense and defense, which I think we can, again, we're 4-0 in the division. There's really no logistical way for the Falcons to lose the NFC South this year. Because then in 2 weeks, we go up against a New Orleans Saints who's going to be without Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, I believe, so many other players for the Saints. And, of course, the Panthers, they're the Panthers. So it is going to be interesting to see going into this weekend. But one thing I do want to quickly digress on, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the Falcons' home record. Because this past weekend, we did lose to the Seattle Seahawks in an embarrassing 34-14, so a 20-point loss against the Seahawks. But again, that's not the most embarrassing part. The most embarrassing part is that we have a good home field advantage. We got fans in the stadium, but they're not coming to the seats and they're not being a factor. And when they are, yes, it does help, but at the other times, we allow other fans to come into Mercedes-Benz wearing a Steelers jersey, wearing a Chiefs jersey, a Buccaneers jersey, whatever the case may be. And it really does show, because we could have used the fans in week 1 against the Steelers. That was a loss, 10-18. We could have used the fans at Mercedes-Benz on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. Now, granted, yes, now the stadium was pretty packed, but it had more Chiefs fans than Falcons fans. And that really does suck, ladies and gentlemen. That resulted in a loss. Now, of course, when it comes to the Saints, now we're definitely going to have more Falcons fans in the seats because it's Atlanta. I mean, it's a rivalry game too. Buccaneers fans, we're going to have a good mixture of those. And then, of course, Seahawks fans, you got some that still wearing like Russell Wilson jerseys, Geno Smith, DK Metcalf. I mean, all of them. But our overall home record right now is 2 wins and 3 losses. And the next home games coming up is next week against the Cowboys, 1 p.m. Eastern. Then you go pretty much 4 weeks. Right here, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. 4 weeks would be the day of the game. That's when the Chargers come to Atlanta on December 1st. And then really after that, our next home game, would be against the Giants on December 22nd. And then our final home game is the final game of the regular season against the Carolina Panthers. So, I mean, really, yeah, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 home games left this season. And we've only won 2. So we really need to make an emphasis on winning our next 4 home games to have a good home field advantage going into the playoffs, because I believe that's what's going to be the key factor of winning a playoff game in this particular season. And that shows success for the Atlanta Falcons, more so for the fans, but definitely for Mr. Arthur Blank, because he put so much time and money into this investment that is the Atlanta Falcons 2024/25 roster. He wants dividends off of this season, and if you can win these home games and win the NFC South, it's paying dividends. Yes, we want to go all the way and win the Super Bowl, but the way certain teams are playing right now, guys, I just don't see it. Maybe a mid-tier or mid-round playoff exit, but other than that, that's about it. That is about it for the Atlanta Falcons right there, because if we can't even compete with the Seahawks, who are 4-3, we're at 3-3 at the time, then I don't see us really going much of anywhere, especially with our atrocious defense, who can't even block the run. Yes, we can intercept the ball, deflect the ball, whatever you want it to in the secondary against the pass. But whenever it comes to the run game, it's embarrassing because you got Grady Jarrett, Judon, all these big, beefy men on the defensive line that are very athletic and can get to the quarterback. We're what bottom tier in the NFL whenever it comes to getting quarterback pressure, everything. Falcons defense, 24th in the National Football League against the run and going against the quarterback. That sucks. It really does. So I believe, honestly, this coming off season, we either need to have better players on that defensive line, or we need to go ahead and just fire our current defense coordinator. That's just it. Bring Ryan Nielsen back from Jacksonville, because he definitely did a good job with that run game, and definitely with the secondary that we got, Ryan Nielsen would be perfect for this defense, for the Atlanta Falcons to be at least a mid-tier in all categories, maybe even like top 10 running that section. So, guys, what do you think? Do you think the Atlanta Falcons will win this weekend's matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans being out for the Buccaneers? Because those are Baker Mayfield's two favorite targets. They've always been, even for Jameis Winston. And now since they're out, I think this definitely does increase the odds. But who knows? This is the NFL. Just like college, anything can happen. So, guys, my final score prediction for this weekend's matchup, I'm going to say Falcons do win this one. Let's just say 30-24. I just don't think this is going to be a blowout game like it was against the Panthers or the Saints. The Bucs, they're looking for revenge, but it's going to be without, of course, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin this time around. So 30-24 is my score prediction for this Atlanta Falcons game this weekend. We improved 4-0 in the NFC South and improve our odds to making the playoffs this season. So, guys, I sure hope you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to like button wherever you are listening from, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. But until then, Cole Morgan, we'll catch you all later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.